Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down my week number 14 running back start or sit decisions for the 2024 fantasy football season, going in depth through each of the 13 matchups on the week. It is important to note that there are multiple teams on bye, which is why there are only 13 games. We got the Baltimore Ravens, the Denver Broncos, the Houston Texans, the Indianapolis Colts, the New England Patriots, and the Washington Commanders, which is going to lead to some players that you typically wouldn't want to start, or some running backs that are real dicey ending up as starts because there are so many teams on bye. Before we get into things, though, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, or you aren't subscribed in general, to just make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. It is free. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, make sure you guys hit that like button like it owes you some money. Leave a like down below if you do end up enjoying. Follow me on Twitter if you would like, at NotoriousFantasy. So without further ado, let's get into my week 14 running back start or sit decisions for the 2024 fantasy football season. We begin with an absolute heater of a Thursday night football matchup, the Green Bay Packers at the Detroit Lions. Now, for the Packers, Josh Jacobs has been on fire, NBA Jam style, over the last 3 games coming out of the bye week. All 3 games for Jacobs, he has finished inside the top 5 at the running back position, and he has 5 total touchdowns in that stretch. Now, the Dolphins defense had 0 answer for him on Thanksgiving. The man in the receiving game went 4 for 4 like he was at Wendy's for 74 yards. I fully understand that the Lions defense is elite up against the run. They are amazing. Chef's kiss, magnifique up against the run. So sitting here and banging the drum and singing the praises of Josh Jacobs, to some might feel a little bit silly, but we talk about this all the time on the channel. We said Josh Jacobs is on fire, NBA Jam style. And when a guy is on fire, you don't just take him out. You don't just say, oh, you know what? This matchup's a little bit tough. Let me just take you out of the top 12 when the guy has been so good for the last 3 games. So to me, while I'm not going to sit here and just rank him as like a locked and loaded top 5 option, to me, he is a no-brainer top 12 running back on the week and is in the running back 8 to 10 range as of right now. For me, his running back mate, Emmanuel Wilson, had 2 carries for 20 yards last week, which continues to kind of just feed my bias that Wilson is a solid back that really just doesn't get enough touches because Josh Jacobs ahead of him is the workhorse on the team, since he'll more than likely probably just see like 2 to 5 touches, though on a week in, week out basis. He is definitely just a handcuff that belongs on the pine. For the Detroit Lions, that defense is a brick wall. We just talked about it, but the Packers defense, not so much. So both Jahmyr Gibbs Sonic and David Montgomery Knuckles are poised for big games this week. Understand that, Nick, Jahmyr Gibbs didn't play that great last week. I know he was kind of sleeping off the tryptophan on Thanksgiving as the running back 26 up against the Bears. But prior to that, he was a top 8 running back in back-to-back games. Gibbs, to me, is a must-start running back every single week. And based on the matchup here up against the Packers, I believe there is a strong chance that he finishes inside of the top 8. So I do have him as a top 8 running back on the week. For David Montgomery, he did end up outperforming sleepy Jahmyr Gibbs up against the Bears on Thanksgiving as the running back 16, 21 carries for 88 yards and 3 receptions on 3 targets for 36 yards. Montgomery has a 3-bedroom and 1.5 bath apartment inside of the end zone because the man just lives there, right? He has 11 total touchdowns over the last 12 games. And while Montgomery isn't this stone cold lock to be a top 12 running back on a week in, week out basis, this week he's definitely flirting with a top 12 ranking with so many teams on bye. And to me, he is a high end running back too. Next up, we move to the Sunday slate beginning at 1 p.m. The New York Jumbo Jets at the Miami Dolphins in the 305 Dale. Now, as a Dolphins fan, we just got rock your body, like that Drake song, right? The Dolphins just got shit kicked by the Packers, and I hope that they can bounce back. I know, Nick, the Dolphins are not gonna make the playoffs. Nick, the Dolphins suck. Ha 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 ha. Real funny, man. Real funny. It ain't sweet to me, man. This has been such a bad season for the Dolphins. And as a fan that has never seen a playoff win for the Dolphins, starting to get sad out here. Now, again, for Achan, even with the woes running through the six with the woes of the Dolphins offense, the defense, the team as a fucking whole. And despite the fact that the Dolphins offensive line can't run block, Achane continues to hit defenses with the people's elbow on a weekly basis. Even with just 14 rushing yards on Thursday Night Football up against the Packers in Lambeau in the frozen tundra, Achane had 8 receptions on 9 targets for 56 yards and a touchdown. With Tua, Achane has been a top 7 running back in every single game outside of 1. And with that being an 8-game sample size, Achane is a clear top 3 running back up against the Jumbo Jets this week. Now, to me, it does appear that Raheem Mostert has retaken the throne as the running back 2 on the Miami Dolphins, as Jalen Wright didn't see a single touch last week. Raheem has still looked like a shell of the guy, though, that we saw last year, who was a high-end running back in fantasy football. I still believe that this situation is too cloudy, though, in terms of the running back 2 to even actually play Raheem Mostert, especially with the Dolphins O-line sucking more schlong than Phoenix Marie. So, as I said with Achane, the offensive line can't run block, so Raheem belongs on the bench. For Breece Hall, if you are a Breece Hall owner this season, I can almost guarantee that you've gained at least a couple of gray hairs from the stress that this man has caused us. Before the bye, he was the running back 3 up against the Colts in a game where he scored 31.1 PPR points. Then the bye hits him, and it hits him like a goddamn truck because he's the running back 46 up against the Seahawks last week, playing just 62% of the snaps, which is his lowest snap share percentage on the season. I was expecting a big game there last week and ended up taking some pie to the face. The Dolphins run defense can't wrap up like Tyreek in the bedroom, who just had his 1,000th child over the weekend. Breece should be able to bounce back as a top 12 option, but I won't hold my breath and sit here and suck the guy off, metaphorically, of course. Hit him with a bit of the Sukalamink special and say, he's guaranteed to finish inside the top 12 because, well, I think he should. I won't guarantee it. Braylon Allen has been pretty disappointing this season, in my opinion. I get that he hasn't had a lot of touches, but based on how I thought he would look at the NFL level coming out of Wisconsin, I did think he would be a little bit better. But again, he's just a rookie, and all of the trials and tribulations, the fact that the Jets organization is just dog shit doesn't really help him either. He could see anywhere from 2 to 8 touches, so I just really can't play him because I don't think it's very safe to just predict how many touches he's going to get on a week in, week out standpoint because they fluctuate so heavily. Next up, we got the Atlanta Falcons at the cold like Minnesota Vikings, a revenge game for Kirk Cousins. Now, in Bijan's last 7 games with the Falcons, he has been a top 9 running back in 6 of those games. Sure, Bijan did end up starting off the season running like they put glue on the bottom of his cleats before every single carry, but the guy has completely turned the page, even with Kirk Cousins throwing the ball directly to the Chargers defense 4 fucking times. And Kirk Cousins sabotaging that game. Bijan was still able to finish as the running back number 2. The Vikings defense is great up against the run, but again, this is a classic example of another guy that's running so hot, playing too well for me to drop him down the rankings. So to me, he is a top 6 running back on the week. Every once in a blue moon, Algier is going to fall into the end zone and have a halfway decent game, but with just 2 touchdowns on the year and Bijan Robinson healthy, he is unstartable. For Ron Jones, his season has been largely a roller coaster ride. We have seen some incredibly high highs, right? These great peaks, these great games, and then we have seen some real low lows. Last week, he failed to score even 10 fucking fantasy points. This week, he was the week prior to that, he was the running back 7. So the Falcons defense is pretty meh up against the run. So I can't really say that Aaron Jones is this locked and loaded top 12 guy or even a top 18 guy, but he does have the ability to pop off in any given game. He does have great hands. He's able to catch passes out of the backfield, and the Vikings offense, when running smoothly, could end up laying a pipe here to a defense like the Falcons. So to me, he's a middle to low end running back number 2. Cam Akers is a must-add if you are an Aaron Jones owner heading into the playoffs to make sure that you have that condom wrap on one of your top running backs, kind of like how if you have Bijan, you want Algier, but with Cam Akers, he's very likely that he won't even see 5 touches, so he would be a sit. Next up, we got the New Orleans Saints at the New York football giants. But before we break down this luxurious matchup, I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends and our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog and sign up using the link in the description or promo code Notorious, you will get your free pick, which tonight, on Tuesday, and on Wednesday is going to be LeBron James higher than half of a total point, plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So over on the Pick'em, you're going to want to add the free pick. If you're watching this on Thursday, it's going to be a player on Thursday Night Football higher than half of a total yard. If you're watching on Friday or Saturday, it's going to be a different NBA player higher than half a total point. And on Sunday, it's going to be an NFL player higher than half of a total yard. But if you're doing this, what you want to do is you want to add your free pick plus a player playing either in the NFL or the NBA. And if both of your picks hit, you'll get 3 times what you put into your pick'em. Now, if you do multiple other picks, then they all would have to hit, but the payout would be higher. So make sure you sign up using promo code Notorious or by clicking on the link in the video description to get your free pick tonight. LeBron James higher than half of a total point plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash. So back out into things here. The Saints going up against the Giants in MetLife. Now, we just saw the Giants defense get a train ran on them by Rico Dowdle, Sasha Gray style. And with Kamara being a very reliable running back on a week in, week out basis, and the matchup being sweeter than a cherry pie, I got Alvin Kamara as a locked and loaded top 5 running back on the week, especially since Taysom is done for the season, and you might end up actually seeing Kamara get like 10 targets in this game because we know Derek Carr loves to check down the ball more than Junior Soprano loves to go down on women. So I do really believe that with Taysom hurt, which obviously sucks for Taysom, but you're going to see more targets for Kamara. The offense runs through Alvin Kamara like America runs on Duncan, and up against a defense that allows the 8th most amount of points to running backs on a per-game basis, I feel great. Shout out Tony the Tiger about Alvin Kamara. Now, Jamal with 2A's Williams returned from injury last week and played 6% of the snaps. With Kamara getting so many of the touches on a week-in, week-out basis, he is not even worth considering. For the Giants, Tracy and Malik Neighbors are kind of just the sole bright spots in this Giants offense. The Giants have still yet to name a starting quarterback for the week, and I really hope that it is Drew Lock, because at least then there is a hope that the team can actually move the ball into the red zone so that Tracy can punch that thing into the end zone. The Saints allowed the 6th highest amount of points to the running back position on a per game basis, so even with not so hot quarterback play, Tracy should be able to finish as a high-end running back too. Now, when the Giants switch from Tracy to Singletary is like switching from crack to a candy cigarette. Singletary does not bring any boom whatsoever, which is an absolute disappointment to the Costco guys. They'd be sick if they heard that. So you can't even start them with 6 teams on bye. Next up, we got the battle of the animals, the Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles. PETA's not going to love this matchup. PETA. Shut up, Meg. All right, sorry, that was stupid. The Carolina Panthers at the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Chuba Hubbard fumbled the game away in overtime last week up against the Buccaneers in a game where he was on the struggle bus, and he lost some of his work to rookie running back Jonathan Brooks. With Brooks getting ramped up more and more, this could end up being no bueno for Mr. Chuba going forward. As of right now, though, Chuba is still in the driver's seat of this backfield, and this matchup is far from ideal. So he's kind of in the low-end running back 2 to high-end running back 3 range. Now, Jonathan Brooks did see his highest amount of touches since week 12 when he returned up against the Bucs last week. 6 carries for 18 yards. 3 for 3 like a free throw for 23 yards. He only played 21% of the snaps, though, so since he's still the clear running back 2 and not the best spot up against the Eagles, he belongs on the bench. For Saquon Barkley, he has been shining brighter than a diamond in that Rihanna song, right? 3 straight games inside the top 8, and up against the Panthers' run defense that couldn't stop your fucking grandma running on him. I believe that Saquon is poised for a top 3 finish on the week, and I got him as my running back number 1. Kenneth Gainwell is getting paid I had to do the research. I looked it up. I wrote it down. He is getting paid $1 million, over $1 million, I guess, before taxes this season to sit on the bench. Respect to him, right? Now, it is possible that the Eagles are beating the Panthers so bad that they end up seeing the pearly gates and you end up seeing Gainwell get some touches. But even then, there is no guarantee that Gainwell actually gets enough touches to be competent. Gainwell hasn't scored more than 10 points this season, so there is no way, Jose, that you can play him. Next up, we got the Cleveland Browns at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, 9-inch Nicholas Chubb has truly yet been able to get back to his old ways. Now, he has played better recently, 2 games in a row of over 12 PPR points, round of applause for him. But he just doesn't look exactly like his prior self before the injury, right? Like, I think anyone with eyes can see that. And even someone with one eye, like Patchy the goddamn Pirate or like Michael Bisping, would be able to see that, right? But, and this is a big but, shout out to Emily Ratajkowski, I don't know how to say her last name, I'm going to be honest with you. With him seeing 3 touchdowns over the last 2 weeks, I feel comfortable ranking him as a low-end running back too, especially since the offense looks real solid with famous Jameis Winston under center, even though he had the classic Jameis Winston game last week with the multiple pick sixes. Jerome Ford, F-150, outsnapped Mr. Chubb last week, 66% to Chubb's 34%, which is the opposite of week 12, where Chubb actually played 66% and Ford played 34%, which is just kind of funny because it's the exact same number. With the team still really truly to uncork Nick Chubb, Ford will still see touches, but actually banging the drum for Ford as a usable asset with Chubb healthy is crazy, so I would be sitting him. Najee Harris went balls deep into the Bengals defense in Cincinnati as the running back 3, 16 carries for 75 yards and a tug, 6 receptions on 6 targets for 54 yards. Over the last 7 games, Najee's been a top 20 back in 6 and a top 10 running back in 2 of those games. He is a very reliable running back 2, top 24 back, game in and game out. And even with Jaylen Warren seeing more touches as of recently, even though this isn't the best matchup on earth, I don't think anyone will be saying that. I think Najee is a clear middle of the road running back 2 with clear top 12 upside based upon what we have seen. Now, with 6 teams on bye, a guy like Jaylen Warren, who typically is just a sit, he kind of creeps up, he scratches and crawls his way into becoming a start. Now, he did end up seeing a dip in snaps and touches last week, but ultimately, he's good enough to get you like 10 fantasy points. Right? No one's sitting there starting Jaylen Warren, expecting him to drop a 20 bomb, expecting him to drop his nuts onto the face of the defense because of Najee Harris. And Najee Harris is actually playing well. But again, when there are so many teams on bye, Warren can be a play in the high-end running back 3 range, though again, no one's going to sit there though and be like, wow, I can't wait to play Jaylen Warren. Next up, we got the Las Vegas Raiders at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, for Amir Abdullah, he's going to be a start. Now, Madison and Zamir missed last week, and they've been out for a couple of games at this point. If either returns, I would just launch this backfield into the garbage, but as of right now, I think Abdullah is the running back 1 on the team. Sincere McCormick, though, did outperform him in Kansas City, which is a really tough spot for running backs. The Chiefs are elite up against the run for fantasy football. Against the Bucs defense, this is a matchup that's ripe for the taking. Again, no one is going to sit here and pretend like Amir Abdullah is great, but Amir Abdullah can score a touchdown. He still has it, even though he's an unk, so he's a fine high-end running back 3 again. Worst case scenario type of start, break glass in case of emergency. Now, Sincere McCormick had 12 carries for 64 yards last week and 2 receptions on 2 targets for 1 yard. Now, I do believe that he may be better than Abdullah, but unless he outsnaps Abdullah, I think that Abdullah will end up outscoring him this week, which was not the case last week. Now, for the Bucs, Bucky Irving, which is just still funny to me. Ever since they drafted him, I thought it was hilarious that the Bucs drafted a guy named Bucky. Maybe that's not funny to you, just kind of funny to me. Now, Bucky has been playing like one of the best running backs in the National Football League as of recently. And that's not even like a glaze. This isn't the Gawk Gawk 9,000 special here, right? I'm not gargling on the guy's nuts, metaphorically, of course, but Bucky has been playing well. The eye test shows it. The stat sheet shows it. 3 straight games inside the top 7 for the rookie, and 6 of the last 7 inside the top 18. Now, Rachaad White's not going away. He's still going to see touches, and he hasn't been kicked to the curb, right? He hasn't been told to hit the road, Jack, and don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more, right? That hasn't happened to him. But Bucky's the one who has been curb stomping, Tony Soprano style, the defenses on around 50% of the snaps. Now imagine if they gave him 55% weekly. 60% weekly, right? Imagine that. Imagine how great he could be. He was the running back one last week. 25 carries for 152 yards and a tug up against the Panthers in Carolina with 3 receptions for 33 yards. While it does feel a little bit weird ranking a running back who is in a clear committee, like everyone knows he's in a committee, ranked this high, but Bucky has earned his stripes. And to me, he's a top 8 running back going up against the Raiders. Now, while Bucky Irving is the guy that you want to have, again, it's really not like Rachaad White is just now the cum rag of this offense. Sure, he didn't perform well last week as the running back 33, but prior to that, in his last 5 games, he was a top 24 running back in all games and a top 5 running back in 2 of those games. So again, after one down game, you don't need to get rid of Rachaad White. Again, I get Rachaad White's lower on the totem pole. He's lower in terms of the rankings compared to Bucky, but in a good spot up against Vegas. At home in Tampa, he's a solid low-end running back too. And again, don't be shocked at all if we get to the end of the week and he outscores Bucky Irving. Next up, we got the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Tennessee Titans. Now, this is a matchup that, like, you just close your eyes and think Jaguars at Titans. When is this game being played? Is it Sunday? Maybe Monday? No. In your head, this is a Thursday game. Color Rush. I miss Color Rush football. I think a lot of people do. When the jerseys were cool. Again, oh, that shit looks stupid, Nick. They looked like a bunch of highlighters out there. Remember that game where the Bills played the Jets and it was red versus green like it was Christmas, Nick? That looks stupid. People that were colorblind struggled watching that game. Which actually is true. But I like the Color Rush games. Fucking sue me, okay? This feels like a Thursday night game. Now, I'm glad it's not a Thursday night because the Thursday night game is riveting this week. I'm ecstatic to hop on fucking Amazon, give Jeff fucking Bezos my money so I can watch the goddamn game. But I do feel real nicey about that game. But I do like that guy that interviews. What's that guy's name? Oh my God, he wears like the Scottish hat. It's not Roddy Piper. What's his name? You know what I'm talking about? The guy that interviews like the rappers. And he just knows everything about them. He's like, he'd be like, now, do you remember your first grade teacher, Mrs. Smith, told me this? You remember what you said in 4th grade English about this? And like, he just knows the answer. Fuck, I don't know what his name is. Nardwar. I love that guy's videos, man. What a real wholesome guy that guy is. Shout out to Nardwar if you're watching today's video, which you're not, but shout out to him. So glad we were able to speak our way through that. You know, you guys, that's one of the most tough things about making videos is I'm just like talking, you know, about some random stuff and I got to just think like my brain is thinking while talking. And as you guys have seen, there hasn't been a single cut in today's video. So while there's an intro, then there's a cut so you can get that cool fade, you know. Ooh, you know, super fast mode. Shout out All Leaves Me Blade, you know, get that nice fade. I feel it faded. Shout out Kanye and Post Malone, but there's no cuts really in these videos. So I'm just kind of going, I'm talking, and, you know, the things come into my head, and I just say them, and while I'm talking, I don't think anyone gives a fuck, so let's just go back to what we're talking about now. Back to the Jaguars versus the Titans. The Titans had to abandon ship on the run up against the Commanders early. They had to abandon it early because the Commanders were up huge, and the Titans defense was fucking begging for mercy. 8 carries for 35 yards for Mr. TP, and 4 receptions on 6 targets for 33 yards. This week, the game script should at least flip a little bit. It should be at minimum, like the Titans are at least in the game, if not up in the game, so they should be able to pound the rock. Prior to last week, he was the running back 5 in Houston. Now, I'm not going to panic on Tony Pollard. To me, he just feels like a nice high-end running back 2 on your team. Tyjae Spears was uninvolved in his return game from the concussion. As, like I said with Pollard, the Titans got their head thrown onto a spike by the Commanders. Spears cuts enough into Pollard's workload to be annoying if you have Tony Pollard, but he doesn't actually play enough to have any standalone value. So he's a sit for me. For the shoe, beat whoever the Colts are playing, even though I think they're on bye. Are the Colts on bye? For the shoe? Yeah, they are on bye. That sucks for Jonathan Taylor. I don't know why I didn't know that off the top of my head. We haven't talked about them yet, so process of elimination, they probably haven't played yet. So shout out to that guy that sings that song. But for the Jags, you can't be playing Tajay Spears for the Titans. You're playing Tony Pollard. But for the Jaguars, I would rather attempt to have intercourse with a Ford Raptor's tailpipe while the truck went across the United States and is still running over starting Travis Etienne. Now, I don't know how many of you guys have weird Twitter accounts, like where you see random things on Twitter. I see all types of shit on Twitter, ranging from large asses to funny clips to guys sticking their dick into a tailpipe, which is why I brought that up. And the guy burned himself and he ran away with his pants down, which was pretty funny, but very messed up because he was in the middle of public just trying to hung into the tailpipe of a car. So yeah, I'm not starting Travis Etienne. I get he's the lead back on the Jaguars, but I don't care. He hasn't been good since the start of the season, and even then he was just meh, right? Mac Jones is fucking trash, so the team doesn't even get a bunch of opportunities for Etienne to score. And even if they did, Tank Bigsby could still get the touchdown. Even with the Titans being middle of the road up against the run, I am running away quicker than the masseuses in Florida when they see Robert Kraft coming, so stay away. Tank Bigsby is a victim of poor coaching and a piss-poor offense. The rock should be getting handed to him at a high rate, but instead, he's stuck on the cuck chair. Shout out Ian Gary. And we are watching Etienne get the touches. Where things are right now with the offense, I can't make a good argument to play Bigsby. So you sit him. Next up, we move to the Seattle Seahawks at the Arizona Cardinals, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have 1, 2, 3 games at 4 p.m. because, again, the NFL hates us as viewers. I get the 1 o'clock slate's always electric. Whoa, there's 8,000 games at once. Whoa, Scott Hansen's going back and forth. Clit to ass. You know what I'm saying? Shout out Stu Feiner, right? That's what they're doing. But it's really lame. I've said this a million times, so we don't have to go too deep into it, but it is very lame that they do it the way that they do it. Shout out the NFL, though. Best product in the world, in my opinion, for a sport aside from the UFC. Those are the two best, in my opinion. Nick, baseball's better, basketball's better, hockey's better, blah, 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 blah. I actually like watching beach volleyball. And, Nick, you want to know something really messed up? The last time I was watching beach volleyball, I saw a really bad wrist injury. It was actually my wrist from cranking off to watching those bras. Okay, lock in, dial in, lock in. This isn't a comedy video, Nick. You're supposed to be talking about fantasy football, you cocksucker. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Hopefully people are watching this. I know we're 26 minutes in, but there's been some good content in today's video. Now, Kenneth Walker hasn't averaged more than 4 yards a carry since week 7. Even so, he has been a top 20 running back 3 games in that stretch, where his yards per carry number doesn't look very good. It looks like my GPA in college. It's 3. He was the running back 43 last week in New Jersey up against the Jets. 16 carries for 49 yards, 2 receptions on 3 targets for -3 yards. Now, I get last week was a real doozy on what we have seen this season. He's been better. That wasn't good. So Kenneth Walker is a low-end running back 1 to high-end running back 2, who I'm starting to be wow, Nick, you were right when you told people not to love Kenneth Walker because he just hasn't played as great as of recently, even though early on in the season, everyone with their Twitter fingers, haha, Nick, you dumb fucking bastard. Haha, you told us not to draft Kenneth Walker, and Kenneth Walker's amazing. Ha 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 ha. Right? That's just what happens. Charbonnet was the better of the running back duo last week. 4 carries for 28 yards and a tug last week with 2 receptions for 13 yards as the running back 24. Shout out Kobe. Prior to last week, he hasn't really done anything with Walker healthy, and with Walker healthy right now, he isn't even worth your best shot for James Conner. I say this every week, but the Cardinals offense is very up and down on a week in, week out basis. Some games they look like an elite offense. Other games they kind of just look like they can't even move the ball. Last week up against the Vikings was a rare mid game from the Cardinals offense, but Conner, just like the team, was mid. He was the running back 25 in Minnesota. Conner is a reliable running back 2 on a week in, week out standpoint, which I've said a million times in today's video. So we need to think of different verbiage for that. But the man just signed a fat 2-year extension. So again, while he did struggle up against the Seahawks last time back in Week 12, this is a good spot for running back. So I like him as a high-end running back too. Freddie Benson may officially be cooked with that new extension for Connor, but as of right now in this season, Benson can't be played as long as Connor is healthy. Next up, we got the no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills, the AFC East champions, 13 weeks into the season. I fucking hate the Dolphins. Why do they do this to me every year? At the Los Angeles Rams. Now, the only great thing about the Bills being this good is I can't wait for the inevitable failure in the playoffs. I know, Nick, you can't even say anything. The Dolphins suck ass. I know. But the amount of joy that I see when the Bills go down in the playoffs, something that does bring a smile to my face, right? Even through the trials and tribulations of life, the good and the bad, I always know at the end of the year, the Bills are going to lose, and that's going to be awesome. Now, I do actually like a lot of the players on the Bills. I'm a big fan of Josh Allen. I'm a big fan of James Cook. I like some of the receivers. I like Keon Coleman. I like Khalil Shakira. I like Dalton Kincaid. And speaking of James Cook, he's the running back that we need to be talking about. He cut up the 49ers defense like he was using a lightsaber through some warm butter, right? 14 carries for 107 yards and a touchdown with 1 reception for 13 yards as the running back 9 in a snow game. I love the snow games. And there's a lot of people that are like, oh, these teams need to build a dome. Don't build a dome if it snows. That's so fucking lame, in my opinion. The Rams defense is not good against the run. So this could be yet another top 12 game for him, as he has been a top 12 running back in 3 straight games. In this spot, with how magnificent the Bills' offense looks, James Cook is a clear top 10 running back. For Ray Davis, he was the running back 19 last week, 11 carries for 63 yards and 1 touchdown. Since the Bills stuffed the 49ers in a locker, we did get to see Davis more featured compared to normal. Even in a solid matchup here, though, Ray Davis's workload is too tough to predict on a weekly basis to actually play him. And unless you predict the Bills to really put belt to ass here and be up by a lot, then I don't really think Ray Davis is going to see a whole lot of touches. Now, Kyren Williams, even with Blake Corum seeing his highest snap share on the season, Kyren was still able to live long and prosper. Shout out to Captain Spock as the running back number 11 in New Orleans. 15 carries for 104 yards and a tug with 1 reception for 9 yards, back-to-back weeks with a touchdown in a top 3 matchup in terms of points allowed to the running back position on a per-game basis. Kyren should be able to finish as a low-end running back 1, even if things aren't looking as great recently. Even if things are looking a little bit more doom and gloom here. Now, even with Blake's highest workload, he still finished as just the running back 55. Now, I do think he is a talented player, so I'm not going to sit here and demean him, but we know the team wants to get Kyren fed like someone prior to them having Ozempic. So I definitely would stay away from Blake Corum. Next up, we got the Chicago Bears at the San Francisco 49ers. Now, for the Bears, in a tough spot on Thanksgiving, Swift was locked up by the Lions defense. He's still mustard up 9.4 fantasy points. So it wasn't a complete disaster, but still far from ideal. This week, he is in a clear bounce back matchup up against the 49ers, who just let James Cook smack them all on the floor. Smack that. Give me some more. Smack that. Like Max Holloway smacked Justin Gaethje, or like Alex Pereira hit Jiri, or like Conor McGregor hit Jose Aldo. Swift has been cold as of recently, just like Minnesota, but in Santa Clara, the upside is clear. He is a mid-range running back too. Roshan Johnson got outsnapped by Travis Homer Simpson last week, 28-3%. Shout out to the Patriots. He has scored a touchdown or more in 5 of 10 games, so maybe he could score this week. But with Homer getting more snaps last week, I am staying away from this man like he's got the bubonic plague. For the Niners, with no Christian McCaffrey and no Jordan. The numbers, Mason, what do they mean? The keys to the backfield have been handed to Isaac Guerendo, who had 4 carries for 19 yards and a touchdown last week in Buffalo. The 49ers team might suck worse than touching your dick hole after you eat some hot wings, but I do believe with Shanahan being a run game guru, I got Guerendo as a high-end running back 3 in a solid matchup here. Patrick Taylor Jr. might be the running back 2 behind Guerendo, but honestly, Taylor might get out-touched by Kyle Juszczyk. No need to get cute and play him. If you can spell Kyle Juszczyk in the comments, K-Y-L-E, and then how you spell Juszczyk, if you can figure out how to spell that, let me know in the comment section. I had to look it up. I didn't know how to spell it. I did not know how to spell it. And that's the funny thing about football is I know how to spell all types of shit. That just, I know how to spell Roethlisberger. I know how to spell all these weird names that these players have. I know how to pronounce players' names, but I don't know how to spell automatopoeia or things that you would, or sometimes I'm gonna be honest, I struggle sometimes spelling Wednesday. Sometimes I do. And, I feel like an idiot because I can spell all these other things. I know all these random facts about football. I know all this knowledge about what happened in the NFL this season, what happened last week, what happened the week prior. I can pull all this knowledge out the domicile, but I can't figure out other stuff that is just obvious for most people. Now we move to, "'Cause you waited all day for Sunday night." Nick, you've been singing too much in today's video, and you've been using your stupid voice too many times. I know. Chargers at Chiefs. Now, for the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco didn't come back like when Michael Jordan returned from baseball or from gambling or whatever conspiracy theory you want to throw on him, right, and have a good season. He did look good, though. He had 7 carries for 44 yards and 1 reception for 5 yards on 37% of the snaps up against the Raiders. I expect the team to ease him back in, and they did exactly that. I assume they keep ramping him up, and as the weeks go on and on, it goes on and on and on and on. As that happens, he'll keep ramping up and up and up the rankings, but as of right now, he's kind of just a high-end running back 3 at best, because this matchup reeks to high heaven for a running back, in my opinion. Now, Kareem Hunt, even with the Chiefs using the just the tip approach with Pacheco, Kareem only saw 7 carries for 15 yards and 2 receptions on 4 targets for 0 yards. With Pacheco back, that is kind of the straw that, breaks the camel's back here. I just wouldn't play him anymore. For the Chargers, Gus Edwards runs like Brock Lesnar's kind of holding on to each of his legs, like there's a clone on each legs. And if you actually look at Brock Lesnar's kid, the similarity between the two is insane. Just look at him and his daughter. It's crazy. And yeah, just crazy. Imagine you go to take home, you go to pick up Brock Lesnar's daughter, and you're like, oh, I'll have her home by 8. And then you fucking open the door and Brock Lesnar's standing there. Now, actually, if you saw what his daughter looked like, you'd be like, oh, that's Brock Lesnar's kid. Let me run away before I get fucking F5'd. But I do digress here. So he actually didn't look half bad last week. But even without J.K. Dobbins, with Kamani Vidal back up against a great run-stopping defense, you would need a hole in the head to fire up the Gus bus, as the wheels are starting to fall off the bus at this point. Kamani Vidal is the best healthy running back in this room, in my humble opinion. Hopefully, he gets more snaps as the weeks go on and on, but as of right now, you just can't play any Chargers running back, especially with the team trying to throw the ball more. Final game here, game number 13, lucky number 13. Shout out Dan Marino, the Cincinnati Bengals at the Dallas Cowboys on Monday Night Football. Now, Chase Brown has been hotter than Amber Heard in Aquaman. Now, I get that chick is batshit crazy, but goddamn, turn that movie on. It'll get the blood flowing downstairs, right? CB, and we ain't talking Chalupa Batman, has been a top 10 running back in 4 straight games. And with the Cowboys getting hit with the 619 Rey Mysterio on a weekly basis by the running backs, I am feeling real nicey about Chase Brown finishing as a top 5 running back on the week. While the Bengals might be sleeping with the fishes like Luca Brasi, Chase Brown will keep his head above water and will have a big game. He's going to get a healthy dosage of targets as a top 5 running back on the week. Khalil Herbert saw his highest amount of snaps last week for, drumroll please, 10% of the snaps. While it is going up and up every single week since he arrived in Cincy from the Bears, with how well Chase Brown has been playing, there's no need to play Herbert. For the Cowboys, Rico Dowdle was running at the speed that DeMarcus Robinson was driving last week after drinking 3 bottles of tequila. Rico hit the defense with the Rico McMillan as the running back 6 up against the Giants with 22 carries for 112 yards and a tug with 3 catches for 11 yards with Cooper Rush playing slightly better than dog shit. Dowdle should be able to be a fucking reliable mid-range running back 2 going forward, especially up against the Bengals. Now, I thought maybe because it's Thanksgiving, maybe Zeke will do something, right? Maybe his thoughts of, oh, I got to get home, have Thanksgiving dinner, maybe after the game I can get that Thanksgiving turkey, where they give out the turkey. Maybe I thought, hey, maybe Zeke's fat ass, that'll motivate him. But that was not even remotely the case. Bro had 1 carry for 4 yards. I get that the only fat running back that's probably motivated by food would be Eddie Lacy, because I know damn well he would steamroll his way into the end zone. There'd be all 11 guys trying to tackle him if in the end zone there was a Chinese buffet, or if he could see a Chinese buffet inside of the Salvation Army bucket. He'd get his way on in there. So sit Zeke, start Rico, sit Khalil, start Chase Browns. Thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did end up enjoying today's video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below like it owes you some money. I greatly appreciate all of your guys' support this season. It means the world to me. I know the season's coming down to a close. The season is long. It takes a while, but I genuinely appreciate all of you guys. I hope you guys have the great success this week in fantasy. You guys are able to win your game or your games if you play in multiple leagues. Get on into the playoffs. I know this is where the season starts to fall off for a lot of people because they lose their teams, but I greatly appreciate your guys' support. Whether this is the last video you see from me of the year, I hope you're back next year. I love you guys so much, genuinely. Without you guys, none of this is possible, so I really do love you guys, and I hope you guys know that. I'm very appreciative of each of you. If you're new to Underdog, make sure you guys check them out. Again, promo code Notorious to get your free pick. LeBron James, higher than half a total point, plus a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. Make sure you guys check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. Have a great one. See you guys soon. Good boy!